All right. Welcome back to Myrna and Jenn Read the Apocrypha. We are excited to continue on today, but we got some more to share about ourselves.
Yes, we do.
So I have a question for you, Jenn.
Oh, this always makes me nervous, Myrna, because I never know what you're going to say.
That is true. I do go into strange places, but this one's not too strange.
Okay.
So here's my question, because I have not ever asked you this question.
Oh.
And take just a minute to think about it. But what is what you would consider your biggest pet peeve with the country? Let's go to that.
Oh, wow. All of a sudden, all of these pet peeves are like in my head about this, and this. Okay, about the country. My biggest pet peeve is that a lot of people, even my age, don't even keep up with relevant information about our country and what's happening. I will mention something about us sending aid somewhere, or about our budget, or about, and they're like, "Oh, really? I didn't know that." I'm like, do you not listen to anything? Do you not try and at least glean some information? And so there are certain friends that I have that I can talk country, politics, all that stuff with, but it's very, very tiny. Very tiny. I'm grateful that my husband and I talk about it. We'll go on walks at night and stuff, and a lot of times it's like, "Oh, did you hear this, or did you read that?" So that is a pet peeve, because I'm like, how can you figure things out? How can you make decisions and voting and stuff if you're not keeping up to date on things? It's frustrating, maddening.
Well, mine kind of fits in that same space, I will have to say.
Okay.
My biggest pet peeve, at least right now,
is right in this moment as we're filming.
Right in this moment, because right now we're coming on an election situation, right? And in 2 weeks we will be voting. And right now, my biggest pet peeve is the people that say you need to vote for Kamala because she's a woman and all the women need to stick together.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that is the stupidest reason to vote for a woman.
It is.
I'm not saying a woman can't run the country, but I'm saying that's the stupidest reason to vote for a woman.
You're right.
I don't even do that even if I did believe that a man could run the country better. I don't vote for him because he's a man.
Correct.
Right?
Never.
And so that is my biggest pet peeve, when they make their choices about who to vote by the person's gender. To me, that is the stupidest thing, because that has nothing to do with it. A woman or a man could do the job. It doesn't matter, and I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say it this way, but it doesn't matter what's between your legs. It just really doesn't. You can still run a country. And so that's my biggest pet peeve right now, is people that just...
Well, and can I say, is it being able to broaden it to not just gender, but race, religion, like, those don't matter.
Right.
To me, the only thing that matters is your ability to lead and have this country stay on track. I want to see your output. I want to see your abilities and skills at play.
Yeah. What you should look at, as far as I'm concerned, is you should look at their track record, what they have done, and what has resulted from what they have done.
Yes.
Right. And then listen to what they say they're going to do. Now, just because they say it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. You got to remember that. They're going to say a whole lot of things and promise the moon during election time, right?
Oh, of course.
So you got to take some of that with a grain of salt. But you can weed through that by looking at what they have done in the past. What's the fruits of their labors so far?
Right.
And that is what you look at to determine who to vote for. It doesn't matter whether you're on the left or the right. Those are the things you need to look at and determine whether you believe that they can lead the country in the space you believe it should go. And everybody has their right to choose what they think this country needs to do.
Yep.
Right? I may not agree, and you probably, someone else probably doesn't agree with me.
Right.
And that's fine.
Yep.
And I respect that they have the right to choose the person they think will do what they think this country needs.
Correct.
Not because of their gender, not because of their race, not because of their sexual identity, not because of, any of those kind of things. Those are it. When it comes to voting, those are trivial. Now, for life, they're not trivial, but for voting, they are trivial.
Agreed.
They're not important. It's the other things that are important. Anyway, so that's my...
Okay, that was a good question.
That
was a good question. I can understand.
Okay, so we shared a little bit about ourselves. That's quite a lot about ourselves, actually.
It is. But hey, that's what this is about, Myrna. This is what it's about. It's about Myrna and Jenn. We share, we talk the Apocrypha, we throw ourselves into the weeds. This is the experience.
Yes. And hopefully you like it. And if you do, hit the like button, subscribe, so you can hear some more of our desires and wants and what we think is happening, and share with us what you think is happening as we read this Apocrypha. What does it really mean? What do you get from it as you listen to us read it, or as you follow in your own reading of it? What do you think we might be wrong on? Throw it in there. Let's have a discussion. Because we're not sure we're right. We're just sharing what this is making us think and feel of, right?
Yep, agreed.
So today we are in chapter 5 of Jubilees.
Yeah.
All right. So, Jen, you go ahead and start. And let's do 3 verses at a time.
Here we go. And it came to pass, when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of God saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon. And they took themselves wives of all whom they chose, and they bare unto them sons, and they were giants. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and all flesh corrupted its way, alike men and cattle and beasts and birds and everything that walks on the earth. All of them corrupted their ways and their orders, and they began to devour each other. And lawlessness increased on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of all men was thus evil continually. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, and all flesh had corrupted its orders, and all that were upon the earth had wrought all manner of evil before his eyes. All right.
Okay, I have never heard this part of the story. I've never heard this. I was floored.
There's a lot in those first 3 verses, Myrna. Let's jump into some of them. Okay. Can we talk about number 1? Sure. Everyone starts to multiply. We talked last time. A lot of guys were marrying their sisters, and eventually they started marrying cousins.
Right.
And we got this idea of the watchers, the angels who were sent down to teach Adam's children, Adam and his children, lots of things. And the angels of God saw the women, and they were beautiful, and they took them to wives. And by the way, they were giants. Now, this word giants comes up in the Bible, Myrna. It comes up, and there's lots to be said about it, because everyone's like, what do they mean by giants? Goliath was a giant. Are we saying that the Jubilee is suggesting that Goliath actually didn't have giantism, which is a genetic disorder, that he was like a rare one-offer, but that he might come from a line of giants, and giants lived on the earth because angels took wives and had children? I don't know what to think about this.
I don't know what to think about that, but we know that there's been giants on the earth. They found whole skeletons of giants.
They have.
Okay.
They
So
have.
that's not something we even need to argue about, right? It happened. We have physical evidence that it happened.
We do.
For me, the part is blaming the giants on the communion of the angels and the daughters, I am assuming, of the posterity of Adam. That's quite a blame.
In what way? Explain
Well,
that again.
well, I guess it's not quite a blame, but it's an eye-opening thing to say that because they mated, we end up with a giant.
Yes.
Does that mean every time they mated, was it always a giant? Or did they have regular sized kids? Or did they have midgets? That's not a nice word. I am sorry. I have so apologized, little people. I am so sorry.
Hey, there's a comedian out there who talks about
I'm
it.
I'm old, and I really apologize. That was not nice, and I realize it, and I apologize. I am sorry. They are little people. Did they have that too, or was it just this one type of children that they had as only giants? And then when you talk about Goliath, I'm not sure, now that I think about it, that he would come from this line of giants. We know he's a giant. It says so in the Bible. Because we have the flood come, right? And Goliath is after the flood. So,
but we have giants.
They would have wiped out these giants.
And yet.
So where do we get the giants that Goliath came from? Maybe we'll find that in another Apocrypha. But that's interesting.
Because we do know that everything was destroyed, and maybe as we read the Jubilee, we'll get part of that and understand more things, because we have already said that Noah was born and his three children.
Well, okay. Well, maybe one of his daughters joined with an angel and had a giant, and they were saved, right? Because his family was saved, right? Wasn't it all of his children that?
Yeah, but we only get the three. We only get the boys. Right? We only get the names of the boys.
Okay, well, maybe we're going to hear about. I don't know.
Okay,
he had to have a daughter. Maybe. Okay, we're just thinking. We don't know that he had any daughters.
Correct.
But somehow that giant line had to either begin again. Or it came through Noah's family. Those are the two options I can see.
The interest here is that we get this idea of these watchers. It's like their heavenly job to impart knowledge to the human race. So it's possible, did they do it again? Did everything get destroyed and they're still imparting knowledge and they have more giant children after the flood? I don't know. I guess
hopefully we find out, because that question is in the back of my head now.
It's just gonna sit here because I especially just was watching a documentary about giants, and we know that there have been giants found in lots of places.
Lots of places. Yeah.
They weren't just one place. Giants, they average about 8 to 9 feet. Usually in the range between 7 and 12. I mean, those are huge people.
They're big people.
I think they were saying that they have found like soles of sandals, and they're like 21, 22 inches long. Wow. Your foot is almost 2 feet long. You're a big person.
Yeah, you're a big person.
That's giant. You're a giant.
And I'll tell you this, if I was alive then, you know what my fear would be?
What?
That they would step on me.
Yes.
I'm serious. I'm only 5'5". I'm only 5'5". I probably don't even go to their knee. right? I probably don't even go to their knee. And can they see me? Could they really
Yeah.
see me? You know what I mean?
I
I would be afraid that they would step on me. And not because
well,
they were doing it on purpose. I'm not saying they did it on
right.
purpose, but
There's
they probably can't
there's
see me. They're like, their head's way
there's
up
a
here. Can they really, you know?
there's a picture of Kevin Hart, who's famously as a comedian actor on the short side, but there's a
Yeah.
picture of him standing there with two other people, and one of them is Shaquille O'Neal. And
Oh
it
my
does
goodness.
look like Shaquille could like
He's a
step on
giant.
him and squish him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It totally
Absolutely.
does.
I'm not saying
Oh
they
my
would do it on
gosh.
purpose. I'm simply
Mm,
saying that that would be a
yeah.
fear of mine because I'm crazy and I have fears.
And
Um,
and I find it also interesting that there are a lot of fantasy stories out there that talk about giants. We have
yeah.
Jack and the Beanstalk that has giants. Like the idea that giants existed archaeologically, people just need to know it's out there. They have found the
Hmm.
skeletons, they have found the bones. That is not something to be argued over. How they got there, and after in the statement here of Jubilee, how they then returned if everyone was destroyed is of interest to my brain
Well,
in this moment.
tell me if I'm not right,
Okay?
because you
I
know
will
a
do my
lot
best.
more about movies than I do.
Oh,
But one of
yes.
my favorite movies, and I think a lot of people's favorite movie,
Uh-huh.
is Princess Bride.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
the guy who played there, he actually qualifies as a giant.
Andre the Giant. Mhm.
Hmm.
That was his
And literally
wrestling
because
name.
of his size.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
He
that was
was
his wrestling
huge.
name, but he actually number
Yes.
wise, whatever, because there's
Yes.
there's what's the size of a giant and then what's the size of the little people, right? They
Mhm.
have sizes, right?
Yes.
And he fit in that
In
range
that
of the giant.
category. Yes, he was
Yeah.
really big. I believe, um, that he actually, I'm gonna double check here. Under the giant, I think he had giantism, which, um,
Which is actually what he actually died of because
yes.
his organs
Mhm.
he basically
He was 7 foot
suffocated, really.
he was 7 foot 4 inches tall and weighed a little over 500 pounds. Now, giantism happens because you have a tumor, uh,
Hmm.
on your pituitary gland that produces way too much. But from this documentary I was watching on Amazon Prime, they were suggesting that the giant bones that they've seen, it does not seem to be giantism, a genetic disorder. It seemed that they were giants, which is
Yeah.
different. So
Hmm.
when I started to read this in the Jubilee, I was thrown for a loop because I was not prepared for that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And like I said, I don't know how that line continued
Mhm.
unless, like I said, I think there's two options.
Yep.
There was one in Noah's family,
Mhm.
or the
It was reintroduced.
somehow it was renewed. Um, Either the
So,
Watchers came down again, or
yep.
there was some genetic thing that ended up happening, and we had some more giants.
Okay. So
So good.
the other thing in these first 3 verses though is lawlessness increased on the earth and all flesh corrupted its way. Men,
Yeah.
cattle, beasts, everything corrupted its way. And I liked it was just interesting that it then said they began to devour each other.
I
Now, I
know.
guess I just assumed that when everyone exited the garden or Adam and Eve exited it, that the animals and everything were out there and already in their animalistic behaviors. But if they were living in the garden, like the Jubilee suggests, and nothing devoured each other in the garden, then
Hmm.
it would be yes, when they came out at some point, they began to devour each other. I had never
Right.
like thought
Well,
through that before.
well, if you remember, I think it was chapter 3 that one of the commandments was not to, or not commandments, one of the, maybe they were their commandments, but not to eat flesh, right? Not to eat the blood, which I'm assuming means the flesh also, right?
Right.
They killed them for sacrifice, but
Yes, that's true.
from what I read, they didn't eat them. They did not eat the animals yet.
Right.
So maybe we started eating animals here.
Well, and maybe that is one of the things too of that, because if you're a shepherd and have sheep or goats or whatever, you generally get milk from them to help with your diet.
Right.
So
Right.
if they were, and everything we learn is that Adam tilled the earth. That was his job.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking
Mm-hmm.
vegetarianism here.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the animals were not eating each other in the garden. And we also know that later on, the lamb and the lion will lay down next to each other.
To each
They're
other.
not going to be. Is that just them reverting back to their original state?
I believe so.
And the corruption of eating flesh will no longer be there. And now that I say that out loud, I don't know. I kind of like pulled pork.
Oh, I love my meat.
I'm thinking through this now,
Well,
and
I thought about that when we read that before. I was like, okay, so hang on. Am I, breaking a commandment because I love meat so much? But it's not a commandment for us
correct
right now. But
Mhm.
I'll be honest, I will miss my meat.
Yeah.
I love meat.
Okay, but I'm gonna say it this way. I'll let go of the meat if that means I get to hang out with lions and tigers and bears.
and alligators.
Of course. And penguins.
Mm-hmm.
If I get to like hang out with them all day long, and if we can all have the same speech again, I can talk to them all day long. Like, I'll give up the meat. I feel like
Maybe.
it's a fair trade
I'm
off.
not going to promise it yet.
Yay. But I do think it's interesting that eating of the flesh is seen as a corruption.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
That's quite a term.
Well,
It was
you will
corrupted.
there's a lot of doctors that will say that when they go through our system, that we were not made to eat meat.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of them that will say that our bodies are not made to eat meat. And that's why a lot of people have problems with meat. And I have always poo-pooed that idea. I've always said, you guys are crazy. You just want, you're just part of PETA. You're just part of PETA. And so you don't want people eating animals. But maybe they are right. Maybe our insides were not made for meat. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop eating it until I have to. Sorry, I'm a stinker. But maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. And I shouldn't have been poo-pooing the idea so much.
I'm going to let that sit with me. I'll let it sit with me. Because until this part of the Jubilee, it just makes the specific detail that Adam was basically given the role to till the earth. It wasn't raise animals and cattle, and it was to till the earth, and that's where the sweat of his brow, and that's where he was going to have to eat and partake the rest of his life. And I don't know what to do with that fully. It's just of interest to think through.
So remind me again.
Yes.
Because I forget.
Yes.
What did Abel do? Did he
Abel was he was a shepherd.
He was a shepherd.
He gave the firstling of the flock, and Cain gave the best part.
Okay, and he was a farmer. Cain was a farmer. Okay.
Yep.
Then my idea doesn't work. So we'll just let that go.
I see what you were kind of.
But also with this section, when you go to verse 3, and it says that God looked upon the earth and beheld it was corrupted. Being a parent, sometimes when I see my daughter make choices that I don't think are appropriate or right or best in her best interest, I really get kind of disappointed. I'm not mad or upset at her, but a little disappointed. I can only imagine that God's quite disappointed with his human race that he has tried to start in order to bring them immortality and eternal life.
Correct.
Right? He already had a disappointment with Adam and Eve in the garden, but it really had to happen. Otherwise, he couldn't bring all these people on the earth to receive immortality and eternal life, right?
Correct.
But still, to feel of them rejecting his commandments had to hurt. And so here again, he's hurting again.
Well, and it wasn't just humans. It's everything that he created corrupted.
True. Yeah. Right.
So it's not
everything.
just one creation, it was all creation. Right. So that would be hard to watch. I'll just let you know. That to me would be hard to watch.
Absolutely would be hard. And to sit back and not fix it.
Yes.
Okay.
Now we can continue
we
with
talked about everything. Yeah, I think we talked about everything there.
Yep.
Okay, verse 4. And he said that he would destroy man and all flesh upon the face of the earth, which he had created. But Noah found grace before the eyes of the Lord. And against the angels whom he had sent upon the earth, he was exceedingly wroth. And he gave commandments to root them out of all their dominion. And he bade us to bind them in the depths of the earth. And behold, they are bound in the midst of them and are kept separate.
Okay, so the Lord isn't happy about the corruption. And he said, destroy man, which to us is the flood. But Noah, there was a little bit of grace. But what do you think he's meaning by, and against the angels whom he had sent upon the earth? He was exceedingly wroth, and he gave a commandment. It almost sounds to me like the angels were like, no, don't destroy everyone and everything. Like they were pleading for the earth and the people. But he was wroth and gave out his commandment. Am I reading it?
I think, well, I didn't get that, but it possibly could be what happened. Where he says he gave commandment to root them out of all their dominion. I think basically he kicked them out of heaven.
Oh,
or wherever they are, right? He kicked them out, and
and
the
against
rest of
the
people
angels,
in heaven,
I get it. Yes,
and the
yes,
rest of heaven was told to bind
separate.
them in the depths of the earth and keep them separate.
Okay.
So,
okay,
in other words, the angels can't come down and do it again.
Well, they can't, because I see how it's being read. And against the angels whom he had sent to the earth, he was upset at them, and he gave therefore a commandment
to
that they no longer that those angels no longer had their dominion that he had given them, and instead he's bound them into the depths of the earth and are kept separate. Okay, Myrna, you know what this sounds like, right? We're in the weeds with some of this stuff today, because there are stories out there that there are places where there are holes or big tunnels that go into the depths of the earth, and there's whole societies down there.
Oh yeah, they think that the lost of the tribes are there.
Yeah,
But
So
they're not actually, but that, I don't believe that that's true, because I think they use the word lost, but they're lost
yes,
to us, not to
but
God. God knows where
correct,
they are, but
correct.
they're hidden in among us, and we don't know who they are.
Yes,
So
but
they're
in
hidden in plain sight.
yes, and people do have that interpretation that they're the lost tribes. But what I'm saying is maybe this is where we get the idea that there's even anyone living in the earth, that
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
these angels who have been
yeah,
stuck in the earth.
yeah. I get that. Yeah, and it possibly is
Interesting.
how they got that.
In
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
interesting. I've never ever heard that. These watcher people, I've
Um,
never like this is news.
I've never heard of Watcher people before. I
Nope.
knew that. I knew that Adam was taught by people
Yes.
and by
Mhm.
God. I wasn't oblivious to that, but I
Correct.
didn't know that they had a name called Watchers.
Right?
And I definitely didn't know that they took the women for their
To vote
wives,
5. Mhm. And
and
had giants.
had giants. This is all new to me.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
It sounds like a really good movie that you could
It
make.
does. It totally does. It totally does. And if you hear laughter or something in my voice, it's because this is a little out there for me. A little uh, I don't know how to take it. Other stuff I've
Mhm.
been reading, have found insightful and like, ooh, but this one has brought up like more mythological feel to things.
Yeah,
And and like I the question that keeps coming to me is could I believe that there were angels sent down to earth? Yes, but that they were capable then of having flesh
mating.
of some sort and mating with humans. I
Mhm.
it sounds like all of those sites of conspiracy about us being a hybrid alien people
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
of
mean, it's
some sort.
certainly something to to me it seems like
Uh-huh.
that part that we read in the
Mhm.
Doctrine and Covenants where God says there's some truth in there,
Uh-huh.
and then there's some not truth in
Some
there.
not. Mhm.
Um, this fits in what I would think to be the not truth
Not
area,
truth.
but I could be
Mhm.
wrong. I haven't asked.
I
I haven't received
I
any revelation to say it's
correct.
not.
Mhm.
But it sounds like it at
Yes,
first look.
at first glance, I'm gonna admit. But let's see what we get as we go further in.
Yeah, but we know that Noah did find grace in God's eye,
Yes, we do know that. Mhm.
and that brings us to what happens in the Bible that we know about Noah.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Mhm. Okay. 7. And against their sons went forth a command from before his face that they should be smitten with the sword and be removed from under heaven. And he said, my spirit shall not always abide on man, for they also are flesh, and their days shall be 120 years. And he sent his sword into their midst, that each should slay his neighbor. And they began to slay each other till they all fell by the sword and were destroyed from the earth. All right.
Okay, so is he talking about the giants?
That's what it sounds like to me. And against their sons, because he was talking about the angels,
Yeah.
they should be smitten with the sword and be removed.
So it was okay to
And
leave the women.
I I guess
We don't have that answer, but yeah.
no, but it is specific. And against their sons went forth the command. So, well, because they took human women to wife. So the problem is coming from the angel side of it.
Yeah, that's who God is really mad at. Right?
But it isn't, yeah, and it's interesting though, for they also are flesh, and their days shall be 120 years. So they can live to be 120,
According to
according to this. Hmm.
according to God's time,
Yep, true.
which is less
Weird.
than a day.
Mhm.
according to God's time.
But
All
I
right.
like this. I like the mythical picture here too. And he sent his sword into their midst.
Mhm.
Like there's this sword that just goes out, and now they take it and they slay each other. All right.
Mhm.
They were combative people. Ah, what
Yeah.
a strange story. Continue.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Okay.
Verse 10, Myrna.
Okay. And their fathers were witnesses of their destruction, and after this they were bound in the depths of the earth forever, until the day of the great condemnation, when judgment is executed on all those who have corrupted their ways and their works before the Lord. And he destroyed all from their places, and there was not left one of them whom he judged not according to all their wickedness. And he made for all his works a new and righteous nature, so that they should not sin in their whole nature forever, but should be all righteous, each in his kind always.
Okay, this kind of is sounding like there was this beginning of man, and man was like way corrupted, and he judged them, but then he made like a new man with a new and righteous nature so that he wouldn't just go all bad. Is that what you're reading?
Well, this talks about how he bound them in the earth, right? So he's still talking
Mhm.
about the giants
Yes, he
until you
is.
get down to 11. And then he like destroyed a bunch of stuff
Yep.
and places um, and when he didn't leave any of them left, there was nothing left to judge,
True.
right?
Okay.
And then he decided he was going to, in some way,
Mhm.
start anew um, a righteous nature within his
Creatures.
creations.
Creations, that's a good way of saying it. Yeah, I find that interesting. So there was this high level of corruption, and now that that has been taken care of, now he's getting this new nature that's more uh as he puts it, more righteous, a new and righteous nature. So that
Okay.
they should not sin in their whole nature forever. We have the natural man in us. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like there was complete id. We have the ego and
Uh-huh.
id in man. It's like there
Mm-hmm.
was complete id in those guys, but now we've got a little bit of um a balance here. Like we've
Yeah.
balanced ourselves out. We're not fully just corrupted.
Well,
We can be righteous if we choose.
mhm. I'm also wondering,
Mhm.
um, this is what this says to me when it says, so they should not sin in their whole nature forever, but should be all righteous, each in his kind always. I'm
Mhm.
wondering if that's when he made the nature that we are to only copulate with our own kind.
Oh, Myrna. I didn't my mind is blown.
Because the whole nature,
Interesting.
so that they shouldn't sin
Okay.
everybody with each other, right? And
Okay.
then when it says, um, but should
So,
all be all righteous, each in his
yes.
kind always.
But
That's what
but
it
if
says to
we
me.
but if we go back up to verse 2, all of
Mm-hmm.
them corrupted their ways and their orders.
Yes.
Could that be some of it? Is that they were able to copulate with other species and other things, and they did it out of their orders?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I think
That
it
to
could be.
me is then is reinforcing possibly what you just stated.
Yeah, could be.
That now it can only be done within your own species, your own order, because the angels were able to do it to create
They were
children
able to create
outside
children
of that.
with humans. So I wonder if that
Oh,
is when it says that his
yep,
a new and righteous nature.
yep.
In other words, that
Mhm.
you only copulate with your own kind
Right.
is kind of what it says to me,
Okay,
and I could be wrong.
I like that interpretation. I like
Okay,
that. Let's continue and see what else
let's go.
we can glean. 13.
Yep.
And the judgment of all is ordained and written on the heavenly tablets in righteousness, even the judgment of all who depart from the path which is ordained for them to walk in. And if they walk not therein, judgment is written down for every creature and for every kind. And there's nothing in heaven or on earth or in the light or in darkness or in Sheol or in the depth or in the place of darkness which is not judged. And all their judgments are ordained and written and engraved. In regard to all, he will judge the great according to his greatness, and the small according to his smallness, and each according to his way. See, there's that feeling, Myrna. You can
Mhm.
only copulate with whom uh
Your kind.
within your own kind. It's all about staying in that own kind.
Well, and I love where he says, and he will judge the great according to his greatness and the small according to his smallness. So
Mhm.
he doesn't judge us in comparison to others. So we should learn to not compare ourselves to other people because God's
Right.
not going to do that when it comes to our judgment.
Correct.
I like that.
And I like this idea because you get it um in the Bible about you having the book of life, right?
Absolutely.
This here has that feeling to it, all ordained and written on the heavenly tablets in righteousness. So that
Yeah.
there's a
And
written record if you depart, if you don't depart, like it is
it's still written,
written.
even if you depart.
Uh-huh.
And so let's go to this one place. I don't really know what to say about it. But
Mhm.
in 14, where it says, or in the place of darkness, which is not judged.
Mhm. That to
What do
me
you
sound
think that means?
I I don't know because my first instinct was outer darkness.
Yes, it was
Or
mine too.
what our LDS religion would teach is outer darkness.
And is it
Which
not judged because it's already judged if you go there? You are already judged if
judge
you end up there. So is that why they're not judged if it is outer darkness? Because to
I could
go
see that
there, there's
argument.
already a judgment, right? To go there, there's already a
Oh yeah.
judgment.
Well, you are placed there because you have fully gone against God. And that consequence is outer darkness. What more is there to
So you're
judge
not
about
his
you?
anymore. You are not his anymore.
Correct.
So
So
he
there's
doesn't need
nothing
to
to
judge you.
judge.
So there's no
Oh
need
my
to judge.
gosh, Myrna, my mind is being blown today.
I don't know for sure, but that's kind of what that's where my
Uh-huh.
mind went is outer darkness
Yes.
also.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
now that I think about it, maybe it is because now you're not his, so he has no need to judge you or
Right.
any dominion on you to
Correct.
judge you.
Mhm.
You are
Right.
now Satan's, Lucifer's.
Right. Mhm.
That is who will judge you.
Yep. The part in 14 that I looked up really quick, or in Sheol or in the
Uh-huh.
depth.
Mm-hmm.
Sheol is the Hebrew word for the afterlife.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. All right.
Mhm. So it's even referencing the afterlife. So it's, I think by saying or in Sheol or in the depth, to me that almost means in the afterlife or in the depths here on earth. That's how I interpret that one. So it's
Mm-hmm.
doing the in the opposites, right? Kind of thing.
Basically, he's
Like
covering
dark heaven,
everything.
earth. He's covering it all,
He's
including
covering everything.
including the afterlife and even the outer darkness.
I actually, now that we have dissected that verse,
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. It really kind of covers all of his dominion,
Yes, it does.
and all of who and why he can judge
Yep.
people.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then 15, I love that, he's going to judge you according to you,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
not compare you to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and I
I
feel
love that.
like that relates to the Book of Mormon scripture of whomever you are in this life, when you die, you'll still possess that same spirit, right?
Yes,
It,
yes.
it has that feel to it to me.
Because you'll have the same desires as you have
The
in this
same
life and the
desires.
next life.
Yep. If they're great desires, you'll have great desires. If they're so what is that phrasing? You cannot put incorruption to incorruption, right? Greatness to greatness. It's that scripture.
Yeah.
You
You
it
will
has to
receive
be that
those
way.
who receive, those who do
Mm-hmm.
incorruptible things will receive corruption in the end.
Yes. It can't be any other way.
They'll
It's
reap
just it's
corruption.
a different way of saying it.
Yes, 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 it is.
Whew. Wow, that was a new
Okay.
revelation about a way to think about outer darkness. Okay. 16.
Yes. All right. Let's do 3 more and see where we go.
Yep.
And he was not one, and he is not one who will regard the person of any, nor is he one who will receive gifts. Okay, you can't be bribed.
Right?
If he says that he will execute judgment on each, if you give everything that is on the earth, he will not regard the gifts of the person of any, nor accept anything at his hands, for he is a righteous judge. And of the children of Israel, it has been written and ordained, if they turn to him in righteousness, he will forgive all their transgressions and pardon all their sins. It is written and ordained that he will show mercy to all who turn from all their guilt once each year.
Okay.
Wow. So that right there says we can't bribe God.
Nope, he's not bribable. And that he has complete righteous judgment. You can trust that his judgment is pure.
So,
and it also says that I want to be one of the children of Israel because I would really like to be forgiven from my transgressions.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that it says once each year.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I
And
think
that
there's
it's
more
written.
to that. I think there's more to that than was translated, because
yes,
it kind of leaves a space that says that as long as we ask for forgiveness and turn away from our sins once each year, then we're good and golden.
Yes.
But I don't necessarily think that is true.
Well, because the other scriptures that we have say that you should repent daily. The prophets have said you should be looking at yourself daily. Like at the close of your day, be looking at what transpired and be repenting and trying to be better.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I find it interesting. Man, there was so much to talk about with that, all of that right there. I think chapter 5 has to have 2 parts.
Oh, well, definitely. I say, let's do 2. Let's see. Let's just read 19, and then of
Okay.
course we begin to tell the story of Noah. But I think
Okay.
19 ends
Kind
what we're
of
talking about.
closes this. Okay, here we go.
I believe so.
Um, and as for all those who corrupted their ways and their thoughts before the flood, no man's person was accepted save that of Noah alone. For his person was accepted in behalf of his sons, whom God saved from the waters of the flood on his account. For his heart was righteous in all his ways, according as it was commanded regarding him, and he had not departed from aught that was ordained for him. Wow. Look at Noah.
Yeah. I have to say that's amazing just because he's living in I think
Quite a world.
we can look at it like I believe that we will be living in a life if we are
Mhm,
able to live till the second coming. We
mhm.
will be living in a world like he was living in.
Yeah.
And to not be corrupted, be one
Mhm,
man and his
mhm.
family not be corrupted would be amazing. And so I think that the world's going to be the same, like this, like unto
Mhm.
this, um, in different ways, right? I mean, I don't know if the animals are going to start eating us or we're going to
Right.
start doing, I don't know if those kind of things are going to happen, but it's going to be very corrupt when Christ comes again. And it will be interesting to see how many of us can withstand it and still stand on God's side,
Right. Well,
right?
it has that feeling of this city of Enoch, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Of being, translated into heaven because of its righteousness. The city
Right.
was full, I feel, of Noah's.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um and that's Zion right there, right?
Right. Yeah, that's why
And
they were taken up because they
that's
were
why.
Zion.
And
They were a Zion
you
people.
know, it's I'll admit, whew, that is a tough place in our world at this point.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
okay. Something
Okay.
just popped into my head. Now, I can't
Say it.
say that this is what's going to happen.
Okay, okay, okay. I'm ready.
Okay,
I'm ready
so
for this one.
what happened to the city of Enoch?
It got
It was
raised
taken
up
up,
into
right?
yeah. Mhm.
Because they were Zion. Now,
Yes.
what is our prophet asking us to become?
Zion.
Zion.
Yeah.
So here's my question.
Mhm.
Those of us who complete that task all together, are we
Mhm.
going to be taken up? Hopefully, I'm involved. Are we going to be taken up? That's why I said we.
Right?
Are we going to be taken up? Well, the earth is destroyed and then come back
Mm.
down because the earth will receive its paradisical glory, and that's where
Which
we will live.
well, I'm going to throw it out there, Myrna.
That just popped in my head.
Um that, a lot of Latter-day Saints, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have this idea that at some point we'll be called to go back to Independence, Missouri.
Yes.
Independence, Missouri is a city.
Well, that was what one of the
Ooh.
prophets said. Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Is it Independence, Missouri? Are all the saints going to gather, those of Zion, so that it can be lifted up?
I don't know that. I mean, that's where the New Jerusalem's going to be.
I
So,
know. I don't know.
but I'm wondering if that's how the Lord is going to wipe
I
out
know.
the
Right.
unrighteous. Right?
Yes.
Is by
Mhm.
lifting the righteous up for a while, like the
Yep.
city of Enoch,
Yep. Mhm.
wipe the world out, and then bring it back down. And then is the city of Enoch coming down with us? Because I hope I'm
Mhm.
involved. Is the
Yes,
city of
agreed.
Enoch going to come down with us?
Oh, that
Right?
would be fantastic.
That would be cool.
That would be way cool.
I don't know. These are just things that are my. This is what my brain's
My
doing right
my
now.
brain is
I thought
popping
I'd
these
share it.
things. Interesting.
So anyway, that's interesting.
Okay.
Okay, so we've moved on past giants, and
Mhm.
now we are going to go into the story of Noah next
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
We learned a lot in the life of Adam and Eve, and even in the beginning of this about Adam and Eve that we didn't know before. So
Correct.
I am kind of excited. I have not read ahead. I probably will, but I have not.
Correct.
I'm kind of excited to maybe learn something new about the story of Noah.
I agree. I'm excited.
What I have read in the Bible.
Yes.
It's always been one of my favorite stories as a little kid. In fact, I have to tell this story, and I hope my sister doesn't get mad at me. I won't tell you which one of my sisters did it, but she gave, we give talks in primary. We give talks in primary as kids, right? And she had to give a talk, and she was given a talk on Noah's Ark. So she tells the whole story, and she gets done, and then she realizes she never put the animals on the ark. I think that's the cutest thing, because I'm like, this young girl is trying to, share this amazing story.
Right.
And it probably was one of her favorites. I think that's like every child's favorite until they learn other ones, right? And then she forgot that most important, really kind of part is that the animals got on the ark too. But I think that's precious. I think it's one of my favorite stories.
Okay, that
family.
one's good.
I think that's cute.
That one's good. Well, because everyone loves the Ark story mostly as a kid because of all the animals.
I think
and
so.
she just really apparently loved that Noah got on the ark and got to go.
Yeah. She didn't. She knew that the animals got on the ark, but she just didn't verbally say it. And I think that's kind of cute.
So exciting. Oh my gosh, that's fun.
But thank you all for being here with us today. And hit the like button, subscribe. We can share some more things. So there were some things today that really has blown Jen's mind.
Yes, my mind all over the place.
Has made my mind go crazy. And I've said some things that hopefully I don't get excommunicated for. But I'm not saying they're true. I'm saying they're just popping in my head when I read these things about God and how much I love that he doesn't judge us in comparison to anybody else. So come back next week. We'll have I think we'll finish the rest of chapter 5. And get Noah on that ark and get him gone. And this time we'll put the animals on with him.
Yeah, we will make sure.
And just come back with us and let's enjoy again some more about the Apocrypha. So just remember the Apocrypha rules, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.